What if I told you that the oldest living American woman didn't take fancy supplements, didn't run marathons, and didn't chase the latest health fads? Her name is Elizabeth Francis, and when she turned 116, she shocked doctors, journalists, and even scientists. At an age when most people are long gone, Elizabeth was still smiling, still speaking, and still remembering the names of her great-grandchildren. Her body was fragile, yes, but her spirit was strong. And when asked how she lived so long, her answer was so simple it almost sounded like a joke. But it wasn't. It was wisdom. And the more I studied her life, the more I realized Elizabeth had quietly followed a set of habits that many of my healthiest elderly patients also share. Simple things, consistent things, human things, not extreme, not expensive, not impossible. As a doctor who has worked with older adults for over 30 years, I've seen firsthand what leads people to age with strength and dignity, and what causes others to decline far too soon. Most people think that reaching 90 or even 100 comes down to luck or good genes, but Elizabeth's life proves that's only part of the story. The bigger part, the part you control, comes down to your daily choices, the food you eat, the way you move, how you think, and the company you keep. So in this video, I want to walk you through 3 powerful lessons inspired by Elizabeth's life and backed by science. These are not random tips. They are the real habits behind real longevity. Habits that may help you live not just longer, but better. If you are over 60, or if you love someone who is, these lessons matter. Because what you do in your 60s, 70s, and even 80s has more power than you think. It's never too late to extend your health span, to regain strength, or to protect your mind. And as we go through each lesson, I'll share stories from my own patients, people just like you, who changed the way they age, simply by following the same principles Elizabeth lived by. Before we begin, let me say this. This is not about chasing youth, it's about honoring age. It's about waking up with energy, moving with confidence, and staying sharp enough to enjoy the moments that truly matter. Because aging is not a disease, it's a stage of life, and when we care for it well, it can be one of the richest. Let's begin with the first lesson, one Elizabeth lived by without even realizing how powerful it was. Elizabeth Francis lived most of her life in Houston, Texas. But if you ask her what truly kept her alive all those years, she points to something just outside her window, a little backyard garden. Tomatoes, okra, sweet potatoes, greens, nothing exotic. Nothing fancy, but everything fresh, seasonal and homegrown. This may not sound revolutionary, but to a doctor who has treated thousands of seniors, it is. You see, many of today's aging problems, high blood pressure, heart disease, memory decline, are not just results of aging. They are results of inflammation. And nothing fuels inflammation more than processed food, refined sugar, and the absence of nutrients. Elizabeth didn't eat out of boxes. She didn't microwave her dinners. She cooked, slowly, mindfully. And most importantly, she grew many of the ingredients herself. That meant no preservatives, no additives, and very few empty calories. Her meals were deeply nourishing. Root vegetables, dark leafy greens, beans and rice, fresh herbs, sometimes a small piece of fish or chicken, always cooked in a way that respected the food. Science backs this up. Diets that resemble what Elizabeth ate, rich in fiber, potassium, antioxidants, and healthy fats, have been linked to lower rates of cardiovascular disease, better brain function, and reduced risk of type 2 diabetes. Even more, these foods support gut health, and that's crucial, because as we age, our gut becomes more sensitive. Processed foods cause bloating, imbalance, and even impact mood. But real food, plants, roots, herbs, keep the digestive system clean, regular, and calm. One of my patients, Margaret, age 83, used to struggle with swelling in her legs, poor sleep and painful joints. She switched to a more natural diet, mostly vegetables, whole grains and home-cooked meals. Within 3 months her blood pressure dropped, her energy returned and she was walking without a cane. Elizabeth wasn't counting calories or tracking macros. She simply listened to what nature provided. She let the seasons guide her meals. And that simple rhythm, what the earth gives, she cooked, was one of the biggest keys to her health. You don't need a backyard farm to follow her example. A windowsill with herbs, a few fresh vegetables each week, swapping frozen meals for real ones. It starts small, but the impact is deep. If there's one takeaway from Elizabeth's plate, it's this. Food is not just fuel, it's medicine. And the simpler it is, the more healing it becomes. Up next, we'll explore the second habit she lived by, a surprising movement ritual that helped keep her joints strong and her balance steady well into her 100s. You might think the world's oldest people follow some intense workout plan or a fancy gym routine. But here's what amazed me when I looked closer at Elizabeth Francis's life. She didn't run marathons, she didn't lift weights, she didn't even walk miles each day. What she did, consistently and without fail, was move her body. Every day, in simple ways. When people asked her the secret to her long life, Elizabeth would often say, "I just keep going." And she meant that literally. From her younger days, helping around the house, to her later years tending to her small garden and doing chores, she never sat still for too long. Even in her 90s and beyond, she stayed active, not with intense activity, but with steady, low-impact motion. This is what we now understand in longevity science as non-exercise movement, and it may actually be more important than working out a few times a week. The blue zones, regions in the world with the highest concentration of centenarians, all share this one habit. People move naturally throughout the day. They walk, they garden, they cook from scratch, they sweep floors, they carry groceries. It's slow, purposeful movement that keeps blood circulating, muscles engaged and joints mobile. Elizabeth's life was built around these small, daily actions. She didn't need motivation to go for a walk because her lifestyle naturally included motion. This matters, especially as we age. One of the biggest risks after 70 isn't heart disease or cancer, it's immobility. Once we stop moving, we begin to decline faster. Muscles weaken, balance fades, and independence slips away. So what can we learn here? You don't need to overcomplicate it. The key is consistency, not intensity. Choose a routine that fits your life. Maybe it's walking to get the mail instead of asking someone else to bring it in. Maybe it's standing while folding laundry. Maybe it's simply stretching while watching TV. One study from the National Institute on Aging found that older adults who moved at least once every hour, even just standing up and walking a bit, had better physical function and lived longer than those who sat for long periods. Elizabeth didn't call it a strategy, she called it life. But science has caught up with her wisdom. Movement, simple, steady and woven into your day, is a foundational pillar of long life. In the next part, we'll uncover the second thing Elizabeth did differently, something that had almost nothing to do with diet or exercise, but may have been the real reason she stayed mentally sharp for over a century. If you asked Elizabeth what kept her going all those years, she might have said something surprising: peace of mind. Unlike today's obsession with supplements and superfoods, Elizabeth Francis had a different kind of health secret, one that isn't sold in a bottle. She guarded her inner world. Her thoughts, her emotions and her spirit were just as carefully tended as her body. In interviews, her family described her as calm, unshaken by chaos. She had faith, deep spiritual grounding, and a quiet strength that came from within. While the world changed dramatically during her lifetime, wars, technology, pandemics, Elizabeth remained centered. That kind of emotional steadiness isn't just inspiring, it's protective. Modern research is finally catching up to this truth. Chronic stress, anxiety and emotional instability are now recognized as silent accelerators of aging. They wear down the heart, spike blood sugar, raise inflammation, and even shrink parts of the brain responsible for memory. But people like Elizabeth seem to have something different. She had strong faith, but it wasn't just religion. It was routine, community and purpose. She prayed daily, she connected with others, she found meaning in small things. Even her great-granddaughter said she was always thankful, always smiling. Here's what this means for us. You don't need to eliminate stress entirely, that's not possible. What matters is how you process it. Elizabeth wasn't rich. She faced hardships like anyone living more than a century, but she didn't let them sink in. She didn't dwell. She prayed. She laughed. She let go. Simple strategies to protect your inner world, daily gratitude. Even writing down 3 things you're thankful for each day improves mood and lowers cortisol. Spiritual practice. Whether it's prayer, meditation or quiet reflection, building space for stillness rewires your nervous system. Limit news exposure. Constant stress from media can wear down emotional resilience. Connect with uplifting people. Conversations with encouraging friends can lower blood pressure and reduce feelings of isolation. Find purpose. Whether it's caring for a plant, mentoring someone or volunteering, purpose creates biological strength. Elizabeth's mind was not only sharp, it was light. That lightness extended to her relationships. She didn't hold grudges, she forgave, and in doing so she kept her heart and her health clear of unnecessary burden. So the next time you think about longevity, ask not just, "What should I eat?" but "What am I holding on to that I need to let go of?" Coming up in the next part, we'll look at the surprising simplicity of Elizabeth's diet and what she avoided that may have added years to her life. You might expect a woman who lived to 114 to have followed some extreme diet, maybe vegan, raw, or loaded with supplements. But Elizabeth Francis's diet was something far more powerful. Simple, clean, and consistent. Her granddaughter described it best. She didn't eat out, she cooked everything at home, mostly vegetables from her garden, and she didn't eat junk. No fast food, no packaged snacks, no soda. Elizabeth lived through a time when food was grown, not manufactured. Her meals were slow-cooked, seasonal and unprocessed. And while she didn't obsess over every bite, she knew what nourished her and what didn't. Let's break down what we know about her eating habits and what science now confirms was likely protecting her from the inside out. 1. Plant-based foundation. Elizabeth ate a largely plant-based diet. Collard greens, okra, sweet potatoes, beans, onions and tomatoes were common. These are anti-inflammatory, rich in fibre and packed with micronutrients. Sweet potatoes alone are known for their potassium, magnesium and antioxidant content, all of which support heart, brain and muscle health. 2. Homegrown and homemade, she grew many of her vegetables in her own yard, giving her access to fresh, pesticide-free produce. Food from your own soil not only tastes better but retains more nutrients than store-bought. It also encourages movement. Gardening itself is a form of low-impact, longevity-boosting exercise. 3. Limited animal products. While Elizabeth wasn't vegan, she ate animal products sparingly. Small amounts of fish, eggs or chicken, usually home-prepared. There was no overconsumption of red meat or processed deli meats, which are now linked to increased inflammation and cancer risk in older adults. 4. Avoiding sugar and soda. One of the most powerful habits she maintained? No soda, no sugary drinks. Her granddaughter emphasized this repeatedly. Sugary beverages spike insulin, fuel inflammation, and are strongly associated with type 2 diabetes and stroke in seniors. Elizabeth avoided them completely, not because of a diet plan, but because she never started. 5. Apple cider vinegar, ACV. Though not confirmed in her personal habits, many women of her generation, especially in the South, used apple cider vinegar regularly. A splash in water, a drizzle on greens, or even taken as a tonic. ACV has been shown to support blood sugar balance, improve digestion, and fight bacterial infections. Even 1 teaspoon a day can reduce post-meal blood sugar spikes in older adults. The message here is clear. Elizabeth's diet wasn't fancy. It was functional. It supported her immune system, kept inflammation low, and didn't overload her body with toxins or processed chemicals. She didn't rely on expensive powders or miracle pills. She simply cooked real food with care and avoided what didn't serve her. Coming up next, we'll look at what Elizabeth didn't do. The habits she avoided that may have been just as important as what she embraced. Often, we focus so much on what long-living people do, we forget the power of what they don't do. And in Elizabeth Francis's case, that was just as telling. Her granddaughter said it simply: she didn't drink, she didn't smoke, she didn't go out much, she stayed home, cooked, prayed, and kept to herself. These words might sound old-fashioned, but modern science is now catching up, and proving that the things Elizabeth avoided were possibly just as protective as her positive habits. Let's unpack the 5 major things she left out of her life, and why they matter so much for anyone over 60 who wants to extend not just their years, but their quality of life. 1. No smoking. This one is obvious, but deserves repeating. Elizabeth never smoked. Tobacco is one of the fastest aging agents in the human body. It destroys blood vessels, weakens the lungs, stiffens the heart and doubles the risk of stroke, especially in older adults. Seniors who stop smoking, even after decades, still add years to their life expectancy. Elizabeth avoided it entirely. 2. No alcohol again, not a single drop. Many people assume a little wine is harmless, even beneficial. But in older bodies, alcohol can disrupt sleep, raise blood pressure, interfere with medications, and accelerate cognitive decline. And in women especially, it increases the risk of osteoporosis and certain cancers. Elizabeth's complete avoidance of alcohol gave her liver and brain the gift of clarity for over a century. 3. No processed foods or fast food. Elizabeth didn't eat out, ever. Her granddaughter was firm on this point. That means no burgers from drive-thrus, no fries cooked in rancid oils, no frozen microwave dinners, and no candy from the checkout aisle. Processed foods are loaded with sodium, seed oils, artificial preservatives, and added sugars. They're designed to be addictive and are now linked to everything from diabetes to Alzheimer's. Elizabeth stuck to home-cooked meals, and that decision paid off daily. 4. No sedentary lifestyle. She wasn't an athlete. She didn't run marathons or go to the gym, but she moved every day. Whether it was tending to her garden, walking around the house, or simply preparing meals, Elizabeth lived an active life. And she did it naturally, without tracking steps or following routines, just low-intensity, high-frequency movement. This is exactly what longevity researchers recommend today. 5. No chronic stress. Here's the quietest killer and the one most overlooked. Elizabeth lived slow. She didn't chase trends, didn't get caught up in drama, and didn't fill her life with overstimulation. She spent time in silence, in prayer, in rest, and that protected her from the high cortisol levels that so many modern seniors are living with every day, the kind that break down the immune system and accelerate aging. In short, Elizabeth's secrets were not just what she added to her life, but also what she left out. And if you're serious about longevity, both sides of the coin matter. In the next section, we'll explore what mindset she carried, and how that may have been the glue that held it all together for 114 incredible years. By now, you've heard what Elizabeth ate, how she moved, what she avoided. But if you ask the people who knew her best, they'll tell you. Her longevity had just as much to do with her mind as her body. Her granddaughter Dorothy said it best. She had peace of mind. That's the real secret. Let's look closely at the mindset habits Elizabeth lived by and how they created an inner environment that supported health from the inside out. 1. She lived without complaint at 114. Elizabeth Francis had every reason to feel tired, bitter, or even defeated. But those who met her described her as joyful, gentle, and grateful. She didn't dwell on hardship. Even though she outlived all her siblings, her husband, and many of her friends. When asked how she felt about growing so old, she simply said, "I feel good. I'm blessed." Modern science shows that gratitude is more than just an attitude. It actually lowers blood pressure, reduces inflammation, and boosts immune resilience, all of which support longer life. 2. She didn't chase youth. Elizabeth didn't try to stay young. She didn't fear aging. She embraced it. There were no anti-aging creams on her shelf, no surgeries, no panic when birthdays rolled by. Instead, she wore her age with dignity. That mindset is critical. Studies from Yale and Harvard show that positive beliefs about aging can extend life by up to 7.5 years. More than exercise or low cholesterol alone. Elizabeth didn't fight time. She flowed with it, and that may have made all the difference. 3. She kept her faith strong. Faith wasn't just a practice for Elizabeth. It was her foundation. She prayed daily, went to church, read scripture. This spiritual grounding gave her what many modern seniors lack, a sense of peace, purpose, and connection beyond the body. And research backs this up. Regular spiritual practice is linked to lower depression rates, better sleep, longer telomeres, and increased life expectancy, especially in people over 60. Faith was Elizabeth's anchor. In a world of change and loss, she held on to something unchanging. That kind of inner stability is a powerful protector. 4. She didn't rush. Elizabeth moved slowly, And not just because of age, it was her way. She didn't multitask, she didn't panic, she took her time cooking, walking, folding clothes, and in doing so she stayed present. That's more powerful than it sounds. Rushing elevates cortisol, suppresses digestion, raises heart rate, but moving slowly keeps the nervous system in parasympathetic mode, where healing and repair happen. In an age of constant notifications and urgency, Elizabeth's unhurried way was a kind of daily medicine. 5. She lived for others. Even into her 90s, Elizabeth cared for family members. She cooked for them, prayed for them, loved them. That outward focus, that desire to give, is often what keeps people going when their bodies begin to slow. It gives meaning. And meaning, we now know, is a biological necessity. People with a strong sense of purpose have lower dementia risk, better immune function, and live longer, period. Elizabeth lived simply, but she lived meaningfully. And that mindset may be the strongest medicine of all. In our final section, we'll pull it all together and show you how to bring Elizabeth's timeless wisdom into your own modern life. You've heard the story. You've seen the patterns. Elizabeth Francis lived to 114, not through wealth, fame, or elite medical care, but through consistency, simplicity, and mindset. So the question now is, how can you take what she practiced and bring it into your daily life? You don't need to copy every detail, but there are 7 timeless actions you can start today, no matter your age or background. These are the modern, practical ways to honor Elizabeth's wisdom and give your own body the same kind of quiet support. 1. Build a simple, repetitive morning routine. Elizabeth didn't rush into the day. She prayed. She moved slowly. She ate breakfast without distraction. That morning rhythm anchored her nervous system and kept her stress low. Start with something small, a short stretch, a quiet breakfast, even 10 minutes of silence. It's not about how long, it's about how calm. Consistency calms the brain and steadies the heart. 2. Cook at home. More often, Elizabeth ate real food, vegetables, fish, sweet potatoes, herbs, and she cooked most of it herself. You don't need to be a chef. You just need to get back to basics. Replace one takeout meal per week with something homemade. Keep ingredients simple. Olive oil, garlic, greens, beans, turmeric, lemon. Your body will notice quickly. 3. Treat movement like a privilege. Elizabeth didn't work out, but she moved every day, walking, cleaning, cooking, getting fresh air. If you sit a lot, make it a habit to stand and stretch every hour. Take phone calls while walking, use the stairs, walk after meals. Motion is medicine, especially after 60. 4. Keep your inner world clean. Elizabeth didn't hold grudges, she didn't complain, and she didn't let fear run her life. When negative thoughts come, and they will, ask yourself, is this helping me heal? Often it's not. Let it go. Talk it out. Write it down. Faith, gratitude, and forgiveness aren't just good values. They're physiological allies. 5. Give your energy to what matters. Elizabeth didn't waste time chasing youth or trends. She focused on faith, family, and purpose. Ask yourself, what gives me energy? What drains me? Restructure your week to give more time to the former and less to the latter. Meaning is medicine. Busyness is not. 6. Connect regularly with people who make you feel safe. Even in her later years, Elizabeth stayed connected. Not through social media, but through meals, visits, prayers, and care. Call a friend, send a card, host someone for tea. These small human gestures protect your brain and heart. And for seniors, social connection is as powerful as quitting smoking. 7. Choose one ritual to keep you anchored every day for Elizabeth. That was her prayer time. It gave her stillness, rhythm, and meaning. What's yours? It could be evening walks, morning tea, reading scripture, journaling, deep breathing. Whatever it is, make it sacred. Let it hold your day together. Longevity isn't about chasing perfection. It's about small, wise choices made again and again. Elizabeth didn't live long because she tried to. She lived long because she lived well, and if you apply even a few of her habits, calm mornings, real food, movement, purpose, you may not just live longer, you'll live better. So ask yourself, what's one thing you can start doing today that your 90-year-old self will thank you for? Write it down. And then take the first step, because the secret isn't hidden in science labs or luxury diets. Sometimes it's already in your kitchen, or in your heart, waiting for you to begin. If you found wisdom in Elizabeth's story, tell us in the comments. And if you'd like more timeless health tips for a longer, stronger life, subscribe and turn on notifications. You deserve to age with dignity, not decline.